Welcome to West Bloomfield 911. I'm Officer Rick, and on behalf of Chief Mike Patton and my brothers and sisters in the West Bloomfield Police Department, welcome once again to the show. We're very lucky today. We have not only a very important individual within the township, but a good friend. So I'd like to introduce to you Fire Chief Greg Flynn. Chief, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Rick. How are you?
Good. Well, I'm glad to have you on.
I'm happy to be here.
Great. We're going to recognize in the corner spotlight one of our fellow employees, so don't run away.
Okay.
All right. Folks, if you look on the screen, you will see the smiling face of Police Officer Kevin Runsat. Kevin's currently assigned to the afternoon road patrol, and he's been with us since December of 2013. But he is not a new police officer. Even though he's only been here about a year and a half, he's got about 4 years of police service as he came to us from the Dickinson County Sheriff's Office up in the UP. So he's a Uper, and he condescended to come down here and work with us trolls. But we're glad to have him. He's a good young man and a good police officer. And it's kind of funny though when we talk about snow, because when we get panicked over here over 5 or 6 inches, he thinks it's merely snow flurries. His favorite food is pasta, and his favorite book is Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, which was published in 1951. He has a favorite movie that is also a favorite of mine called Gladiator, 2000 epic film starring Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix. But he also likes the original Star Wars, the 1977 film featuring Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, and a cast of thousands, as they say. His favorite music is country and western, and as far as accomplishments and hobby, he said he loves to coach soccer, he loves to make home brew. Kevin, you haven't invited me over for any of that home brew yet. We're gonna have to talk about that. He loves to hunt and fish and loves the out of doors, which is completely expected from a son of the Upper Peninsula. When I asked him about his favorite quote, he said it's one by Jimmy Valvano called, which is, "Don't give up, don't ever give up." I'll bet you don't know, Kevin, that he borrowed that from the great Winston Churchill, who was quoted as saying, "Don't ever, 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 ever give up." Either way, it's good stuff. Kevin, we look forward to seeing you back at the station. Folks, if you see him out on the road, please wave and say hello. And we do have also a law enforcement fact of the day. You probably would know this if I just asked you to guess, but the worst day in law enforcement as far as casualties was September 11, 2001. It was the deadliest day for law enforcement, but I know Chief Flynn would also confirm it was the deadliest day for firefighters as well. And as bad as it was for us, we lost 72 men and women that day, and many more have since died from diseases that they've caught as a result of being in that toxic atmosphere in September 11th. And Chief Flynn, you guys lost even more than we did.
We sure did.
You guys
a tragic day for public safety across the board between the Port Authority and
Right.
FDNY, and so yeah, the numbers into the hundreds, I believe. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, folks, if you would, please remember all these great American men and women, both in law enforcement and in the fire service, who put their life on the line every day, but especially these folks who died as a result of September 11, 2001 attacks on America. Folks, we will be right back with our very special guest, Chief Flynn. Don't go away.
You're watching West Bloomfield 911 on Civic Center TV, a service of the Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission. For more information or to watch episodes on demand, visit civiccentertv.com/WB911. Civic Center TV, television that's close to home.
The West Bloomfield Police Foundation raises money to help those who protect and serve the community. Whether it's emotional or financial support, the foundation provides a helping hand to officers, their families, and those in the community. For more information on the West Bloomfield Police Foundation, contact Kurt Lawson at 248-975-8900 or visit wbpolicefoundation.org.
Hello, and we're back with Chief Gregory Flynn, the fire chief for the police department here, or the fire department here in West Bloomfield. And as I said, he's not only the top guy at the fire department, but he's a good friend. Chief, glad to have you here.
Good to see you again, Rick.
You know, I was looking at your bio that you sent me, and you joined the fire department in 1998. Did you work at any other fire departments before you came here?
You know, I got my start at Independence Fire. Was a paid-on-call firefighter there, and got my Fire 1 and Fire 2 training.
Okay.
And was working for the private ambulance, suburban ambulance at the time, down in kind of southern Oakland County.
Okay.
And that's where I kind of got my feet wet as a paramedic, and then in Independence was where I got my start as a firefighter.
All right. Came here in 98, and then I see from your bio you spent 11 years as a firefighter and paramedic, and then you were promoted to captain. And as I had asked you before the cameras rolled, I didn't know if that was a typo or what.
Sure.
Is that unusual to go from firefighter to captain?
You know, it may be a little bit unusual. It's not unprecedented. We've had others that have since done that as well. You know, the jump into fire administration is, you know, it is different, right? And
Right.
I know that you can appreciate that from the law enforcement side, the difference from going from the road and into administration. It's not necessarily for everyone, but we do need good people in
Yes.
those roles that continue to support
Right.
those that are operationalizing and keeping
front
the
line.
community safe. Absolutely. So, yeah, the way our process was set up, there was an avenue for folks to kind of really try to capture the best person for that seat.
Sure.
And clearly in that position as EMS captain, a passion for EMS. And so I was fortunate enough to get the nod from Chief Palperider at that point. So.
Very good, very good. And as you say, even in law enforcement, it's not unprecedented. I know one department I worked for when I was a railroad police officer, we could go from patrol to captain because, again, the functions were different, so you didn't necessarily need to be a sergeant or lieutenant prior to getting
Sure.
that rank. And then, so you spent 6 years there, and then you were appointed chief in 2015. And you are the fourth chief that I've known in the fire service here in West Bloomfield. And you guys have had a long line of some great chiefs. The first one that was here when I got here was Chief Borg, and then Palperider, and your predecessor, Chief Wiseman. So you have some big shoes to fill.
They are big shoes, you know, and I think, you know, Chief Borg, who is since deceased, but Chief Palperider and Chief Wiseman, still colleagues that when I see them, you know, they offer their support and always readily available to, you know, take a phone call and a little bit of guidance. Because that's the great thing about you know, any kind of public service, there's a great deal of tradition.
Yeah.
And to be able to go back to those individuals and kind of understand why a certain policy is there or something, we don't lose that.
Right.
You know, we still have some of that institutional knowledge that we can
Sure.
go back to. And so grateful for both of them, and they really have set the fire department up for continued success.
Yeah.
And now it's just kind of, you know, my job to keep it going. So.
Well, you know, you and I joke a lot together, and I think if someone did know us and they hear some of the stuff we say to each other, we say, boy, those guys don't like each other. But that's not true, of
Far
course.
from the truth.
Yeah, and I would say this, and I have said this to you before, all joking aside, I think they made a great choice, and I have no doubt that you will continue in that great tradition and meet the standards they have set as well, and even exceed those standards.
Well, thank you. It's awfully kind.
Now, what do you? Why don't you talk about some of the things that the fire department has done in the past? Fortunately, both police and fire we're in a good position now. Chief Wiseman, as Chief Patton in our department, had to carry their departments through some rather difficult times. You're pretty fortunate. Times right now are good, but we know Michigan, it can change like the weather. So what do you see for the
Well,
fire
we are in a unique time, Rick, because we did weather that storm, and I think we have some of the battle scars, if you will, to kind of show that we made it through. And, you know, Chief Patton and I think, sit in a unique spot where we oversee kind of the largest divisions, if you will, departments within the township, workforce-wise. And they're also out there, like you said, on the front lines. And there was a lot asked of them. And they stepped up to the plate. And, when we were saying we need to kind of do a little bit more with a little bit less, they were there, and they did that. So now as we come out, we enter this delicate area, right? And here's where I start walking that tightrope of the political side of things over to my right, and then the workforce and the individuals that are out there protecting the community over on the other side. And I think as a chief officer that's a role that we play of trying to keep that balance. You know, and if you tip too far one way or the other, one of those two groups go at risk, and there's consequences on both sides. So that's very delicate. I look to Chief Patton. He's a confidant here, and definitely a mentor to me as well, and definitely someone that I can call up and lean on, and have already. And he's been a great source of helping me in some of my decision making, especially navigating the processes within the township, because that's one thing. You know, you and I both know that coming from the road, we are engaging with the community, and we're out there, we're in that helping profession, you know, public servants. Coming in administration, there's process, there's rules, there's laws that govern how and why and how we can accomplish something. And so that can be a little bit challenging. Chief Patton, obviously in the trenches for some time now doing that, has been very helpful.
Well, now what do you see as kind of your immediate, some of the things that you'd like to accomplish in the fire department in the near future or the far future?
Right, so that's a great question. So there's many, and that's one of the concerns I think you need to have as a chief officer as well, is you can't come in and go, well, here's everything that I want to do and let's do it all today. You know, this is a big part of it. I want the fire department out even more in the community, and really fulfilling that role of public servant and fire prevention and injury prevention. You know, that's a big part of it. We say we're the fire department, but as many people know, that the most common call for service is for emergency medical services.
For medical, yes.
So anywhere we can prevent, just like we have a whole division of fire prevention under the direction of the Fire Marshal Pat Riney. We have a duty also to preventing the injury and illness where we can. And that's a big, coming back to your question, one of the big topics that's talked about right now in the EMS field is this idea of community paramedicine. That if we were to take the E kind of out of EMS and we had medical services, that's there's a lot of buzz there, because with the Accountable Care Act that's been put into law, we want to prevent injury. We want to provide accountable care that really works, and we need to do that at a low cost. So if we can prevent the injury, if we can prevent the heart attack, if we can prevent the diabetic reaction, then we can drive those costs down. We have a safer community. So that's going to be an aspect. How the fire department plugs into that nationwide is a discussion, and we want to be a part of that, and we want to contribute to how we can answer that question best. So that'd be another part of it. And I guess lastly, not to go on too long about all the things that we want to do, but just kind of cleaning up some of our, and maybe cleaning up's not the right way to say it, but refining some of our policies and procedures and making sure that they're up to date. When I'm reading through some of our policies and say that we're going to post notices on bulletin boards, you know things are getting a little bit dated. I don't know the last time I referred to a bulletin board. So those are the types of things. You know, are we leveraging technology the right way? Are we communicating with our workforce the right way? Because a bulletin board may not be the best way. You know, I'm sure I probably have to look up your Twitter account or something like that to go ahead. So that's a big part of it.
I'm one of the old guys. There's no Twitter account here. In fact, I figure some of the young guys in your department and mine, when they're watching this show, are going to their iPhone bulletin board, look up definition of bulletin board.
Well, I would friend you if I knew, if I had to. I would put maybe even a like button for you. So.
Well, I appreciate that. Would you call my wife and let her know, because she says I have no friends. Now, what are some of the medical part and that's very important. And is that more like, would I be stepping on, going in the wrong direction if I said that has a lot to do with education? You know, preventing injury and preventing illness?
Well, that's a big part of it. You know, and I know one of the things that you focus on too is crime prevention within the police department, and getting out and just, you know, kind of going over best practices. You know, don't leave your garage doors open, don't leave your car unlocked in the driveway, stuff like that. Well, there's similar things that we can do with, you know, don't have loose rugs in the bathroom where someone's going to trip, or a rug that's not secured at the front door, or unlit steps or uneven steps. So there's things like that clearly we can look at. But West Bloomfield, I think it's important that we keep an eye on our demographics, and we look at the makeup of our community, and what those needs are. And the fire department, interesting in some of the discussions, even when I look at our colleagues over in like the planning department, and you listen in on some of their meetings and they're talking about stuff, you recognize really quickly, we should be part of that discussion. Because when you say that something is trending, like we may see that our population, our demographics are tipping towards kind of a little bit of an older community. Well, I think you could have came to the fire department and we could have shared some of that information with some of those decision makers early on, because we're engaging in a way that helps to identify that trend. And even with our partners over at Henry Ford Hospital, I think they too are people that can look at that and go, yeah, we see some trends here as people seeking medical attention, both emergent and preventative, at the hospital here in West Bloomfield. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but our call volume continues to trend up, Rick. You know, when we look in 2014, we were 4 runs short of 8,000 calls. A majority of those, we know, probably upper 70 percentile, 80%, are somewhat medical in nature. They don't all result in transports to the hospital. Sometimes we help somebody, we help resolve the situation, and they're able to stay right there in their home. So we're seeing that same trend in 2015, and we would expect that trend to continue. There's no kind of end to that trending up for call for service in the future, unfortunately.
Well, let me ask you, and I know even like I've got an elderly mother who is by herself, and I recently had purchased for her in the community she resides in the
Knox box.
Knox box to go on her door, and I called one of your guys, Dave DeBoer, and I said, "Hey, Dave, what are you guys doing with this? And you know, how effective is it? Blah blah blah." And you know, he was a great asset to me, and of course I have a nice working relationship with a lot of your guys and Dave as well, and. That's kind of a new technology in a sense. It's not high technology, but it is technology. And do you see part of that as helping some of these elderly people, new technology that might be coming down the pike, or technology that maybe we should offer them?
Right, and I'm so glad you highlighted one of our fire prevention guys there. Inspector DeBoer does a fabulous job. He's a huge advocate too for some fire safety grants that are available through the federal government, where he's been the workhorse behind, even in other communities, helping to support something called a bed shaker for those that are hearing impaired. You know, when their alarm goes off, the standard smoke alarm, you know, it's audible. But if you're hearing impaired and it's the middle of the night, so this device actually shakes the bed to wake the person up and alert them that there's something wrong in the house. So coming back to the Knox box question, yeah, we actually in West Bloomfield, residents can participate when we have them. Occasionally we'll get a resident who will buy an over-the-door hanger Knox box for their mother or father that lives in the area. Over time, the need for that device may go away. Maybe they move them to an assisted living or a nursing home, and they've donated those back to the fire department. So now, if an immediate need comes up, we'll actually sign those out when we have them available to residents to avoid having to break down a door. Because remember, with that Knox box, Rick, we come out, we open it up, we put a house key in, we lock it with a key that only the fire department has. And even when we unlock that key for many of our trucks, it alerts dispatch that that key has been activated, and the device records through a 4-digit PIN, which is assigned to each firefighter their own individual PIN. We know who accessed that PIN. Very secure system.
Safety feature.
And so it is technology, pretty low-tech technology, like you said, but very effective. And you know, we're not kicking in doors like we've had to in the past. Well, not so much me. Big guys like you can kick doors in. You know.
Yeah, and you know, if I give another kudo to Dave, I know we've done a lot. I've done work with him as well when we go into businesses. Because what you require as a fire department for a business on doors and safety features may not be a crime prevention attitude. So I'd say, you know, a lot of things I say, Dave, what can I do here? What can I offer these folks from a safety prevention, crime prevention, without violating fire safety rules? So Dave and I have done a lot of work in that regard.
You know, in the whole inspection fire prevention division, they walk, you know, kind of coming back to that analogy of a tightrope, you know, that we don't want to be in the way of business development here in West Bloomfield. We don't want to prevent people, like, hey, we don't want to go to West Bloomfield because the the guys in the fire department are too rigid or something. We want to work with the community, we truly do. But keeping that balance of making sure that when you visit a restaurant that you're safe and the fire sprinklers are operational and the panic door hardware is operational, that someone doesn't throw a deadbolt on something that shouldn't be deadbolted. Or those are important things. And sometimes business owners maybe don't appreciate that because they haven't seen it like you and I have out there where accidents happen, and we live through that. And it's that experience that our fire prevention and our staff bring to making the West Bloomfield Fire Department so strong, is all of those experiences, specifically here in West Bloomfield, so that we can learn from them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, what are some of the other things you want to talk about regarding the fire service?
Well,
West Bloomfield's in particular.
We continue to see just even looking at our data for this year, the fires aren't going away. We talked a little bit about EMS, but one of the shared primary roles still is fire suppression. Fire suppression, car accidents. Noteworthy, and I guess a question back to you, these roundabouts, there was a lot of buzz about them when they went in, and we have seen statistically relevant information now that shows the number of injury accidents. Because I can remember when I came out of the department that you would roll on car accidents at Maple and Farmington, Maple, and they were serious. We're not getting those car accidents anymore. Now you may be seeing some, property damage accidents maybe on the PD side, but people aren't getting hurt. They're working. So
they are working.
That seems to be a step in the right direction, and it seems to me that the community is accepting them and learning how to navigate around them.
I agree with you.
We're working on some team building stuff on the fire side. I think it's important to recognize that we're a 93-person department, and we have an obligation, I think, as leaders in both of our organizations to maintain those individuals so that it's a healthy career. It's a long career. It's a career that they're proud of serving the community of West Bloomfield, and we know that that's not always easy. In public safety to sustain for 25 plus years. And that's important to me as a chief, to know that my staff is the most important thing to me. The trucks, the stations, the equipment, doesn't work without them. And I know it goes the same way on your side of the house. So that's important that we keep our eye on that ball and we're taking care of them. So we have some initiatives going forth that are going to, some recognition things that are taking place. That's very important. It is their job to go out and do that stuff, but when someone does their job well, there's nothing wrong with recognizing that.
Nothing wrong with saying you deserve an attaboy.
Sure.
Absolutely.
So, but we'll continue to keep our fleet up to date. I know the residents have expectations that are high, that the trucks are going to look nice, that the stations will be presentable. We have an aging infrastructure that we're going to have to address. Probably while I'm sitting in the seat, over time, we'll have to do that. So those are those and many other things that we'll continue to, and we'll discuss, I'm sure, at some future episodes of how we're doing and what our scorecard is on some of these things that we're trying to move forward.
Well, Chief, we only have about 3 minutes left. So, is there anything in particular you'd like the public to know? Information you would like to get out to them about the fire department?
Sure. Well, there's
about taking care of themselves.
You brought up the Knox box program, which is fabulous. And again, they can contact fire administration, and we can provide them the paperwork so they can, as a business, that will be provided to them automatically in that inspection. But residential Knox boxes, if someone for their own home, you can get an over-the-door or have it installed right into the masonry or whatever you want to do for how involved you want it to be. Another program that we've used in our partners with Henry Ford Hospital is our File a Life program. And that program consists of like a refrigerator magnet that they can list all of their medical contact for fear that one time we arrive at the house for a medical emergency and the person may be unconscious. We'd be able to reference that document that, again, we encourage them to keep it on the refrigerator so the firemen and the paramedics know right where to look. That packet will come with a sticker too, so if you wanted to put that sticker on the front door, even as they come through that front door, they know, send someone to the refrigerator for the File a Life. So that's another program. And I guess the third one that I would highlight, Rick, is the October Fire Safety Month. And it's usually that first Sunday in October every year that we'll have our Fire Open House. And that's a great day, runs noon to 3 every year since I've been here. It's 3 wonderful hours to come out and share some time with your firefighters and paramedics here in the community. We'll have some hoses out for the kids to, and you know, some of the parents want to wait in line too, and get some nice pictures of their fire trucks, because the trucks belong to the community. Right. We're the keepers of those trucks, and so we'd welcome everybody to watch Civic Center TV for some updates on that when those will post when those events are coming up.
Now, the police department's still invited every year?
Well, it's, you know, we take that under advisement every year.
I don't blame you. I would too. Thanks, Chief. We appreciate you coming on. But if we could take a minute, we'd like to honor a fallen police officer. And this fallen officer is someone particularly close to the West Bloomfield Fire Department. Folks, if you look on your screen, you will see Lieutenant Donald Albert Besna, who was killed in the line of duty on August 31st, 1990, and he is with the St. Clair County Sheriff's Department. Lieutenant Besna was killed in a boating accident. He was attempting to stop a fleeing boat when the pilot of that boat deliberately rammed Lieutenant Besna's watercraft, killing him. He was survived by his wife, his son, and his mother. And Chief, who is his son? Would you please tell the folks?
His son is Assistant Chief Andy Besno.
Absolutely, and that's the reason we'd like to remember this great American hero. His son is also an American hero, so folks, please remember someone close to the West Bloomfield family and near and dear to us, Lieutenant Donald Albert Besna from the St. Clair County Sheriff's Department. Great American hero, remember him, and his son, Assistant Fire Chief Andy Besna, in your thoughts and your prayers. Folks, we would like to thank our guest, Chief Greg Flynn from the West Bloomfield Fire Department. Thanks for coming, Chief. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Folks, thank you for watching, and on behalf of the West Bloomfield Police Department, we're always glad to see you turn on West Bloomfield 911. And don't forget to watch us on civiccentertv.com if you don't catch us on the television at Civic Center TV. I'm Officer Rick. Please take care of yourselves, be safe, be kind to one another. Remember, tomorrow is promised to no one. I'm Officer Rick, and I'll see you next time on West Bloomfield 911.